So it's day 9, nearly at the end of this thing, and I'm feeling it. I didn't sleep all that well last night, not for any particular reason, but just tossed and turned, and I think that's compounding with the days of effort, because I'm feeling very lethargic this morning. A slow meander seems to be my top pace for the moment. But we're getting there. 2 days left, today and tomorrow, and I'll be home. Which I'm pretty excited about at this point. So for now, slow meander. I'm still moving in the right direction, and hopefully the energy will pick up in a little while. Okay, up that apparently. Oh, here we go. So, a little bit of suburbia, just heading out of Thornley into 𝗚𝗏𝗁 National Park. Getting there, getting there. Well, it's day 10. I'm walking through 𝗚𝗏𝗁 National Park, heading towards, I think it's pronounced 𝗚𝗏𝗁𝘁. Man, there's been many place names that I've had a guess at during this walk, so I apologise for anyone I've offended. But yeah, I reckon I've got maybe 2 hours at most left till I get to the wharf, and then decided I will catch the ferry into Sydney Harbour, which originally I wasn't that keen on, but honestly at this point, knowing that I've already hit the kilometre target as well, I'm keen just to finish up. So yeah, it's going to be a good day. I'm going to finish, I'm going to get to go home and relax. I'm pretty excited about that. Alright, I'll come back in a bit. So, wouldn't it have been nice to have a triumphant finishing shot video, whatever. But I didn't take one. I sailed into Sydney Cove on the ferry, as you saw, and disembarked and walked over to the Opera House, which was my finishing point, and tried to take some photos with my little setup and tripod, and the wind just kept blowing it over. So the photo that I actually posted for day 10 of me sitting on the Opera House steps, that was actually taken by a passerby who saw my struggles and asked if I needed help. So through that experience and just being at the end, I didn't even think to just sit down and talk to the camera for a little bit. I just wanted to get home, and in fact what I wanted to do first was get a cheeseburger. So I did that. I went and got a cheeseburger, and then I caught the train home, which is funny because I had intended to not catch the ferry at all, as you know, and walk into Sydney, and then I wanted to actually walk home from Sydney as well, so I could say that I walked home from Newcastle, but all of these lofty ideas vanished once I got to the finish point, and I just wanted to get home. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed I didn't record a video at the finish, but yeah, this was my first experience recording something like this, and you know, as I think you've probably seen throughout this mammothly long video, yeah, plenty of times where I've chopped my own head off with the video, where you can't hear me very well, where the camera's all over the place. So, you know, like I promised from the start, I'm not a professional. So I think that's realized in my video, but I think it's good too. And I was concerned that the video was quite long, but at the same time, it's a memory for me. I want to keep all of those things. I didn't want to cut things out because it's all part of the journey. So if you're still watching at this point, I take my hat off to you, because that's quite a commitment of time. If you fast forwarded to this point, I understand. In any case, I am home now. I've been home a couple of days, and I actually pulled up pretty well, all things considered, from the walk. My shoulders remained sore for a couple of days, which is not surprising. But legs and everything, they came up okay. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how it all went. And you would have seen at one point in the video, I introduced you to my little stick. I'm pleased to say that it made it all the way home with me, and I will at some point get this engraved or lasered to, you know, say the Great North Walk or something like that. So that will be my little trophy for this endeavour. So yeah, and I've posted a bunch of photos on some social media now, and heaps of people have made comments and asked questions. So the primary one has been around a gear list, people wanting to know what I took with me when I started out and went through the hike. So I haven't created that as yet, but I'm going to do it shortly after this video, and I will post it as a list in the video itself shortly, as far as the video is concerned. So you can have a look at that gear list. Feel free to ask any more questions, either on the YouTube video. I haven't really used YouTube much. I'm just starting to use it now, so forgive me again if it's a little bit amateur, but you know, feel free to leave comments there. You're also welcome to message me on Instagram or anything like that, Facebook. If you've got questions about the hike, I'm more than happy to answer them, because the more you know, the easier you're going to make it upon yourself. So I'll put that gear list there. I also had questions around, was there any gear that I didn't use or regretted taking? And not really. There were some things that didn't get any attention. For example, I took a book with me, thinking that in the evenings it'd be nice just to sit back and read for a little while. I never had that chance, so I just carried it the whole way, and I'm glad I only bought the one book. I'd thought of maybe bringing two, because I was going to get through that small book easy, so I'll take a second one. Of course, I never did. So I'm glad that I didn't take more, but yeah, again, the book wasn't needed. Lots of people commenting on the fact that I took an axe. You know, wondering if that was overkill or if I'd used it. In short, yeah, it was overkill for sure, but there was something fun about, you know, hitting the wilderness and having an axe in my bag as well. And I know that sounds silly, but yeah, this was a first time experience, and rolled into that was some naive fun, I guess. And there was a proposed use for the axe, and that was to chop up thicker branches. So fallen branches. Obviously I'm not out there chopping down trees, but when I'm trying to build a fire, you know, it's all good and well for the kindling to start with smaller branches, but I wanted to get hot coals that I could cook with, and I wanted to do that quick. So getting some of those bigger branches and chopping up those bits of wood that were a little bit harder to break just by foot or by hand, it came in handy just a couple of times. But there are much better tools that could have been taken in its place, but it's what I had. And as I mentioned on the social posts, you know, I'm not a pro, I'm not an expert, I'm not some deeply experienced outdoorsman. I have bought some gear recently, and then I have a bunch of gear that I've had previously, and I pulled all of that together and took what I had that I thought I could use. So an experience like this helps you learn where you can adjust what you've got. There was no point in me trying to perfect it before I even left, because A, I'd spend money on things I didn't need because I thought I needed them or because someone told me I needed them. And everybody's different. Everybody's got their own preferences for things. You know, I took a much thicker, heavier mattress. So it was a foam-filled and inflatable mattress, and also a two-person tent, where some people might be comfortable in a bivy bag or something to that effect. And I did that because comfort was important to me, you know, knowing that this is going to be quite a physical or physically demanding experience. So going through an experience yourself with your best guess of what you need, and then learning through that experience how you could adjust that, and certainly in my case, try and make things lighter. That's an experience that I wanted to go through without having somebody else tell me how it should be. Because everybody's got their bias and they'll tell you what you should or shouldn't do. And I find it much better to learn those experiences myself. You know, where suitable. Obviously, I'm not going to go out into sub-zero temperatures in a pair of underpants because I think that's a good idea. You've got to kind of weigh up the two things, advice and your own learning. So yeah, there's definitely been some takeaways from it for me. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with how it all went. As I said, there wasn't anything that I felt was really heavy that I didn't have to bring. I pretty much used everything. I want to adjust some things like my wet weather gear. I haven't quite figured out that one yet, but you know, I have a really good rain jacket, but when you're climbing up high elevation and you start sweating like crazy, you get just as wet as you would in the rain anyway. So I want to rethink how I approach that. But yeah, there's a lot of takeaways in it for me. But all in all, it was a success. It was a hard-fought success. It has increased my appetite for more things like it. I've already got a list of other walks I'd like to do, so I guess watch this space. For the time being, we are sort of trapped in our individual states here in Australia, and that limits some of the things that I can do, and certainly limits what I could do overseas. But you know, this was a good, safe starting point. And I say safe again because a lot of people have asked me how isolated it was, and particularly women, whether they could do it safely on their own. And because I structured my walk in essentially 25-kilometer blocks, it meant that I ended in some weird and wonderful places that weren't necessarily the best camping sites. But if you actually structured the walk and planned it as such, you could stop in, you know, safe campgrounds or accommodation if that's what you want every night, and have exposure to people and towns and shops and that, you know, all the time pretty much. So it comes down to what suits you and how you want to do it. You know, people run this track in ridiculously fast times, and then people walk it in 30 days. So you need to pick what suits you best. Nothing's the right way to do it. You do what, you know, just suits you, what feels best for you, and what's going to feel like an accomplishment for you. And that's what I did, and it was great. And I would do the walk again, but this time I would do it differently. I would take more time and relax. But I do highly recommend it. It was a great walk, really challenging with the pace that I set. So again, you can adjust that to whatever suits you. But some beautiful, beautiful spots, and you know, in the way that I did it, some great isolation too. But again, that's a preference thing. So I probably haven't answered all the bulk questions that I got, but certainly if you've got any more, feel free to post them wherever you can. I'm doing my best to answer all those questions. And yeah, that's it, all done. So until next time, until my next adventure, whatever that's going to be, thank you so much for all of your support and messages throughout the walk. I did receive them from time to time when I got signal, which actually was most of the time. Just if you're interested, most of the walk I had signal, and I certainly had signal every day, because I'm actually doing, I don't know if you're familiar with Duolingo, which is like a language learning app, and I'm on a learning streak, you know, so I've done it so many days in a row, and I was really worried that I would lose that streak, but every day I got signal, so I was able to continue it. So if you're concerned about signal, you've got that as well, but certainly don't let that stop you from having something like a PLB, like a personal locator beacon on you, because that's really important. Anyway, I'm just waffling now, so yeah, thank you for joining me. If you have managed to watch this entire video, you know, kudos to you. It's a big commitment of time, and probably lots of time spent listening to me whinge. But yeah, thank you, and I guess I will see you next time I do something like this. So thanks, and that's me signing off from the Great North Walk. All right, thank you. See ya.
Like a bird on a tree,